This is Steve, Dichroic Glass Man. Okay, another video in the series of the clear composition of clear textures, abstract. Well, tools we're going to need in this exercise, same thing. Soldering iron, steel wool to keep it tip clean, brush, solder, flux. That's it. And, as you've seen in my previous videos, the twisted lead. If you just go into the search and search under twisted lead, you'll come up with many videos. As well as what I'm going to do here, I'm going to attach that to here. Yeah, there's many videos of attaching lead edging. Well, I didn't do it. This is a new window today. So without having to search through the archives, hey, let's just keep them going. Let's just keep things current. Besides, you'll see what I'm working on currently. So, here we go. Pulling up a stool. And what I want to do here, we better look at this again. I've got a strip here, screen stock, or just a thin anything. And what I want to do is I want to pull this window towards my backstop. I'm going to use backstop in the video, and of course the camera will be set up. So what I'm going to do is addressing the backstop, the wooden backstop. It's a good idea. Just nail it down on your bench. You'll pull it up when you're done, and it's going to keep things accurate, and you'll appreciate it. Okay, so let's. I'm going to set up the camera. Move my lead out of the way. Focus my screen. Okay. I'm going to move, take one of the sticks. This is a big window. This is our panel. It's a 30-inch panel. It's not that it's so big. It's beyond the range of what a 6-foot stick of lead is going to give you. Let me say that again. It's going to require, in order for you to do this circumference, more than one 6-foot strip of this lead. So when you're going to get into panels, 24-inch and bigger, it's very wise to do 2 of these at a time and put them away, or do several. I mean, if you're in the mood, they're fun to make. So let's go. What I want to do is I'm going to use my wooden backstop to be my helping hand. Got my duties filled here for me, so I cut my end off with your lead dikes. Always the flat edge goes to the end, so that the beveled edge, the inside, always is cut out away from the lead. So you want a nice straight line. You want the flat edge inside. Okay, I'm going to attach my lead. This is a great area. Look at all the solder points here. This is a very strong area from here to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good place to start. So you're going to keep your steel wool in hand. You're going to have to steel wool the existing lead edge. Don't worry. You're going to be using a lot of steel wool. It won't scratch your panel. It's no big deal, but you got to keep it. It's already oxidized from the last video. It don't take long for lead to oxidize. It starts turning a pewter kind of a look, and you'll know it right away. You can scratch it away with your fingernail if you want to. Okay, so pick any point in there. It's going to be strong. You see by the weight of the window on that bench, it's acting as its own resistance. So I don't have to push into my backstop very much. So it's my helping hand. It's really a crowd pleaser. Okay, I'm starting my lead. This is an arduous task here. I'm going to pull up a stool. I should be able to do this quite well. Now, another thing too, on the previous video we had a blanket or towel or rug. Sometimes just that old crappy rug that you were going to take to the Goodwill. It's got another purpose. It's your soldering pad. Right now I have nothing underneath the window. I'm not vulnerable because the solder has its own peak, and it's really lifting the window up and off the bench. So I'm not in danger now of solder balls getting on, unless I press down, unless it's a really heavy window. But for the most part, well, actually it can't. No, because the solder line is pushing it, so it can't not compress any farther than the solder line, which is now a built-up ridge underneath. Won't allow it. Okay, so I'm going to rotate my panel as I go. See how nifty that is. The weight is pulling into that. Make sure it's pressed down. Lead is dirty. You're going to get dirty hands. At this point, wear gloves if you need to, if you're concerned about that. You're going to flux as you go every place. I use paste, and my spacing here is going to be about 2.5 to 3 inches. It depends on my curly cues, my twist, my screw drive in this lead. In some places, you got to be aware that your lead is tighter. The screw twist is a little bit tighter. So here is a short one. In the overall effect, nobody's going to be looking how many twists per linear inch, running inch. I mean, so don't worry about it. They'll be just fine. I mean, unless it's really obvious. So you can see solder. I'll show you. Solder, retract, turn. Whoops. Turn, flux, solder, retract, turn. Sounds kind of funny. Flux, solder, retract. Remember, as mundane as it seems, create a pattern. This is the song. Turn, flux, solder, retract. Turn, twist, solder, retract. Turn, twist, solder, retract. Now, on this, we are fortunate that when I soldered it to here, I could pull it right across my lead and right into. That creates a pretty nice joint. Nobody's going to notice it. But you, as the artist, know that's a pretty strong point. May seem very moot at this point, but anything we can add to our advantage, it's all good at the end of the day. So, I pulled my window, solder, it's about 2.5, flux, solder, retract, turn, flux, solder, retract. Now, you're getting automated. I kind of like that mechanical robotic-ism for a minute. Now, I see my lead is a little crusty. Remember, I should have... so, get ahead of yourself a little bit with doing this process right here. Set your steel wool down. You'll go through a lot of steel wool, so just get in the habit of getting yourself a package. Get the medium. I don't use the fine for it. Flux, solder, retract, turn. Flux, solder, press down, retract. Make sure it's a nice bond. Stay there for just a second. Solder. You'll know when you got a nice bond. And what's a nice bond then? Well, it kind of puddles instead of it piling up into a bead. You get something going like this, that don't look so good. Let me check my camera here. Yep, that don't look so hot. You can't see a close-up. But you don't want that kind of an attachment. That's not a bond. That's a cold weld. That thing right there is going to break loose someday when it wants to, and you're going to say, oh no, wasn't expecting that. Okay, so I'm pulling the panel. It's keeping my, it's helping as my extra hand, and it's keeping my panel really nice and true. If there's a nice bond there. By the way, this really stiffens up your edge of this panel. In other words, this panel gains a lot of strength, and would have to credit this lead for doing that. Gratitude to the twisted lead. I deal with stained glass emotionally. I love stained glass. Stained glass loves me. And I don't know, as funny as it sounds, I mean, who's not ready to be romantic and passionate about your art? I just vocalize it out loud. I know it sounds kind of, and seems kind of silly, but I romanticize my glass working. I really enjoy it. It's really a communion of mind. It teaches me things. I wish it would teach me more and faster. But sometimes there's some life-reflecting things, attributes about doing stained glass. I love soldering. It's probably one of the funnest things I like of stained glass. It's not, in fact, if you took a consensus, I'm not sure that many people would say that soldering is their favorite aspect. I'm colorblind, and I say that not in a handicap, but as a particular way of how I see things. I have an amazing world of color, and you've seen that in many of my videos, but I'm using other sensory to get a feeling of what it must be like for you guys. You guys see it intellectually. You see it through your eyes. They're registered as brown. Brown goes with this, tan, blah, blah, blah. I don't have that ability. I have to learn color coordination every time I make a window. As funny as that seems, I'm not able to retain color coordination combinations. It's like I have to learn the dance step for every dance that night, every time. It's Groundhog Day. I know, it's weird. But hey, a lot of us have unique, and call it a unique. Don't call it a handicap. I struggled so much being colorblind that I considered myself very defective. I had no color coordination in school with clothes. It was horrible. But yet nobody knew the world that I was in because I had no ability to articulate. Grew up as an extreme introvert, had no ability to tell you how I felt about things. I was nowhere near having a feeling, or having a feeling, but I have no idea what to call it. In fact, even to talk about it was pretty dang hard. So it's easy for me to romanticize the journey for stained glass for me. Colorblind, relying on other feelings, intuition, that gut feeling, whatever. As long as you're getting the results you're pleased with, it's none of our business as to how you arrive there. Okay, now at this point, shut up is what we're going to. I need to, I'm going to need to trim off the end of my, get off my chair, and I'm going to take off one of my nails. I didn't pound it down, so I'm going to put that over this edge for a second and unwind this just a tinge. It's really tight right there. There. That's what I wanted. It was just a little bit too tight. And remember, flat side of the dikes, these are called lead dikes, goes into the lead so that it has a nice straight edge. And the reason you want that, okay, sliding it back over, there, putting it back down in my field. And the reason that that's an issue is because when we introduce our next lead piece, we also want to do the same. So we're going to want to use the flat side towards our lead. And now we have a nice straight cut. And I'm going to feed that cut into the other one. I see this is a little bit tight. It's your opportunity right now. You won't get a second chance. Unwind a little bit if you see any of the... Okay, now I'm going to try to... Yes, it lined right up perfectly with my other joint. Often it does, and often you've got to turn this lead whichever way to accommodate. This worked out perfect. Flux. Get my lead dice out of the way. Flux. Solder. And this one's going to be a double. Okay. Start twisting the window. Our panel. This really strengthens up the window. You'll be really surprised. In fact, you might really be surprised how much the drill bit lead edging really strengthens a panel. A round panel is your weakest, I believe, by design on a flat plane. There's no straight edges to accumulate any strength, any momentum, and like a basketball or beach ball would be to a floor, the only place that it gets support between itself and the ground to build any momentum is just a single point. So this is circles. Unless you know what you're doing and designing your panel for strength, I would not recommend it to go abstract, because of poor design could break your window. You wouldn't have that problem by making a square window and framing it or putting hooks on it, because you got borders. You got straight borders, sometimes 2 or 3 of them. I do, sometimes 2 or 3 borders. And that, for design, there's no problem there. Going to do an interesting video, maybe even next. I realized I might as well start talking about being colorblind a little bit more openly, because, and I want to hear from anybody who's colorblind. If you do stained glass, I'd be really curious. Never met anybody else stained glass colorblind. One of the things that kind of is about borders. I have a box, colorblind and borders. I'm not even going to tell you. It's going to be colorblind and borders, the beginning. I better write that down. Colorblind and borders, the beginning. Sorry, break. Color. I try to, often when things come to me, I try to write them down. This time of my life, designs and techniques and aspects just seem to be flowing. Doing my spiritual work, like a lot of us. Really trying to understand myself in relationship to this universe and the rest of y'all. For the most part, I'm very appreciative of the comments I get on YouTube. Occasionally, some people are upset because my free channel is not in order. Well, there is no way of creating an in-order dashboard on YouTube. Let me know your feelings, because I would like to start a $13 a month, because that's my birthday on the 13th. $13 a month. All kinds of access to every video on stained glass in order, in categories. I must have 50, 60 soldering videos, crates, all kinds of things, and I think it would benefit people, and I'd like to hear back. Cutting the end. Hopefully this video's straight, flat into the same thing, flat into the lead, and I've got a perfect pulling this right back. A perfect match. My lead just lined up, cooperated. Now the next step is putting the hangers on. Nice. Good strong joint. It went right over the top of the lead into the next one. Once this is patinaed, you won't see your solder in there. Thanks for watching. Hope I didn't bore you. Like to hear back from colorblind people, stained glass wise, and or even wannabe. In fact, if colorblindness has stopped you from doing stained glass, I especially want to hear from you. Contact me at askdicroglassman@yahoo.com. And also people that have an opinion if they would pay $13 a month for access to categorized. And folks, I've spent over 2,000 hours, in fact I've got more than that, on my YouTube channel that I've done for free. I don't have any of my analytics turned on. I decided at this point, let her go. I'm not making a dime on my videos on YouTube. I enjoy sharing them with people. Love to hear back from people. AskDicroglassman.com. Thanks a lot. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.